I confess, I feel awkward myself on this ship sometimes. Out of place. But what is that Vulcan motto? Infinite diversity.
In infinite combinations.
And what is diversity? But a celebration of differences.
One of your Earth emotions.
Glad I found you.
Let's get married.
Delete the wife.
Welcome back to Deep Space Love, the Star Trek podcast where a married Trekkie couple explore love in all its forms across the final frontier. I'm Nicole, one of your hosts.
And I'm Joe, one of the other hosts.
You're the only other host, Joe.
What's up?
Not much. I'm excited to get into what we've got for everyone listening today.
Yes, if you are somebody who reads the titles of the podcast before you listen to them, you know that we have a really fun, exciting interview with John Billingsley coming up. Before we get into that, I thought that we would do a bit of a Trek check to see what's going on in the world of Star Trek, huh?
Sounds good. What do you got for us today, Joe?
So the first thing I just wanted to bring up is we are roughly in the middle of Lower Decks, the final season. I know we checked in our last episode about how we're feeling about it. We'd only watched 2 episodes at that point, but we're about halfway, I think, at this point. That's what we watched. So what are you thinking so far?
Are we only halfway?
About halfway.
Okay. Maybe I'm mixing it up with a different show we're watching. Okay, awesome. Anyway, loving it. I'm trying to savor every episode because this is going to be the last season. But I guess we can just rewind to the beginning of season 1 and start all over again.
Yes, true. I think that so far this season's been really good. It's been interesting to see like the growth that a lot of the characters have made over the past 5 seasons. Like it's kind of striking in some cool ways. I really liked the Starbase 80 episode that we just watched. Mm-hmm. It's been kind of a highlight so far. I mean, they've all been good, but that was a really good one, I thought.
Yeah, I would say that's also a standout. But also Tendi pirating.
Oh, yes, that was a great way to start the series, yeah. Second thing I wanted to touch on, we did just very recently get a new trailer for the Section 31 film, which is set to be released in January, one of the J's. January 24th is when it's coming out, January 24th. We just watched that together, you and I.
We did.
Yeah, what did you think?
It's hard, but we only watched it once. It's hard to get a real good look at everything. But I mean, I'm wondering what the threat is going to be. There was, per usual, something Starfleet has never seen before. I think that's the quote. So definitely wondering what new sci-fi adventure or concept is in the works for us. But Michelle Yeoh is at the helm, so I'm excited to see her kick ass and take names.
Yeah, very excited to see Michelle Yeoh. I'm glad. I've talked about this before. I'm glad it's a movie and not a series because I think that I couldn't do that much with Section 31. I'm very curious what the portrayal of it's going to be because I feel like Section 31 is not necessarily the good guys. Like they kind of do some shady stuff, and like the characters that we have, the main characters that get involved in it, like hate it. And so I'm interested to see like what they're going to do and if are they going to try to paint Section 31 in a better light? Like it seems very adventure-y and like almost like Guardians of the Galaxy-esque. Like I don't, like a bunch of rogues, rambunctious rogues who are lovable at the core kind of thing. I don't know. So we'll see what the vibe is. I'm going to watch it and probably have a fun time with it, but not sure what to think yet.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. I don't know. I mean, I'm just going to wait to pass it. It's pulled me in.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Which is perhaps what it's trying to set up to do. I mean, I think sometimes that can happen where it just kind of pulls you in with cool looking things and then you sit down and maybe have some moral reckoning by the end of the episode, movie, show, what have you. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, ultimately...
The thing is, okay, so like Giorgio, though, I'm sorry, is like the kind of person who would enjoy being in Section 31, though, right?
No, it works for that.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what the script will say to like us as viewers.
Okay.
Ultimately, like we love space adventure movies. I love even the bad ones, many of the bad ones.
You love a lot of the bad
I love them
ones.
sometimes because they're bad, so I'm probably going to have fun with it regardless. But yeah. Next thing I wanted to touch on, and this one was kind of, I feel like kind of took the Star Trek fan community by surprise. We got an interesting new short film that was developed by OTOY, which is a technology company, and the Roddenberry Archive in cooperation with Paramount. The short film's called Unification and sees like William Shatner returning to help bring Kirk back to life in a certain way, along with like AI and CGI technology to make it look like how he looked when he died in the Generations film. It's like a journey Kirk takes through almost like a memory lane in a sense. We see characters from his past, other characters we don't quite recognize. Robin Curtis shows up as Saavik with what I believe to be what most fans say is her and Spock's child behind her. There's a lot of really interesting like tidbits and things to pick apart. It's a very it doesn't spoon feed you what's going on. Like,
Absolutely
there's
not.
a lot of questions, I think, and a lot of fans are trying to like pick apart what everything means. We see that character from Discovery who can hop dimensions that Dr. David Cronenberg shows us in that one episode. That was pretty cool, and he's the one who hands Kirk the communicator. So there's so many theories out there, but we watched that also just before this recording too, just to kind of see what that was all about. It was an interesting trip. What'd you think?
It's definitely moving and beautiful in a way. Presumably, Kirk has gone to visit Spock on his deathbed. So it's interesting they call it unification because I keep wanting to say reunion. So, but reunification has other meanings in Star Trek. So, yeah, I had to ask you like what other folks were saying about it because I when it ended I was like, can you explain to me what was going on? So I mean, if that's kind of the gist of it, then it was really well done. The work, the image of William Shatner as Kirk, the multiple images I suppose, but kind of the main image of him was done quite well.
Yeah, it was surprising. There was another actor, Sam Witwer, who was the stand-in like in person when they kind of like overlaid his face. But yeah, it's an interesting technology that I sometimes like never quite certain how I feel about the use of it sometimes, like in certain scenarios. But I mean, I think this was a cool use of it and a cool like short film overall. I mean, I feel like we're still not sure like exactly like, is it cerebral? Is it like post Kirk's death? Like, is he experiencing this on like after dying in the moments of his death? Is this actually happening in reality? Those are questions we don't know.
Indeed. But, I mean, not everything has to be explained, I suppose. I mean, there's only like 5 words of dialogue or something.
Right. And I think it's archival too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the Roddenberry Archive and this company have done a couple other short films prior to this over the past couple of years. They presented themselves as kind of this like digital like museum preserving like various pieces of Star Trek, trying to preserve it, but they've been like using those pieces to kind of create, of course with the blessing of like the estates and actors and families and stuff, to create like these new like films showing these characters in certain ways. And I don't know if they're building to something or if they're all going to kind of come together in some cohesive narrative, but right now they all kind of stand alone. I've seen people like theorize how they're all connected, so perhaps it's something that would be enough for an entire episode in the future of Deep Space Love to talk about. Who knows? Yeah.
It'll be keep it on the table.
Yeah. The last thing I did want to touch on, and this kind of ties in with our interview, is that I just wanted to give a plug for Trek Talks 4, which John Billingsley puts on in support of his program or his organization that he works for, the Hollywood Food Coalition. It's the 4th, obviously, Trek Talks. It's just this cool like panel, basically virtual convention where various Trek actors come together and just talk about things, and people can watch it, join in, and all the proceeds go to benefit the charity. So that is coming up Saturday, January 18th. If you're interested in that, we will have some links for that in our show notes. And of course, we talk a little bit about it in the interview with John too. So definitely give that a look.
Check it out.
And that was our Trek check.
Computer, status report.
What the hell was that?
And so, without further ado, let's move on. We do have John Billingsley, who fans of Star Trek will know as Doctor Phlox from Star Trek Enterprise. We talk about a lot of things, especially Denobulan sex lives, which was a lot of fun.
It was a delightful interview.
It was very fun. We were happy to have him, and it was an honor to speak with him. So,
please enjoy our interview with John Billingsley.
Been a long road getting from there to here.
all right, John Billingsley, welcome to Deep Space Love.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing? And before I let you answer, just know that swearing is okay on the podcast.
Woo, thank fucking God for that. Holy
Yeah.
cow. Yes, you must have. My reputation precedes me, I see.
It's welcome.
All right, good.
Yeah.
It is the Deep Space Nine podcast, after all. The blackest of all the Star Trek shows.
Yes, agreed. Before we talk about Trek, I did want to. I know, like, the world itself has, or our country at least, has been kind of in a rough spot. But I was looking at your program that you work with, the Hollywood Food Coalition, right? And you have an event that you guys are planning for in January. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, thank you for giving me the chance to plug it right out of the gate before people get tired of listening to me.
Exactly.
Very smart, very smart. Frequently, people wait until the end. I think by the end, nobody's paying any attention. By the end, everybody's clicked off.
Yeah, you got to plug stuff right away.
Yes, the Hollywood Food Coalition is a wonderful organization that I've helped support for the last 8 or so years. It's been around since 1987. We started as an organization that serves, which we continue to do, a hot meal to all comers 7 nights a week. My wife and I, when we got involved, were excited about expanding its capacity to serve more people in need. And we helped to create something we now call the exchange program. Essentially, we rescue food from grocery stores and restaurants and other farm-to-table programs that might otherwise get thrown out. And we help to distribute it, share it to about 150 other not-for-profits to augment and buttress their meal programs. So things like drug and alcohol rehabilitation centers that might do great work, but don't serve great food. And the premise is that what we want to try and do is make sure that the work that these wonderful organizations are doing is effectively supported. If you can imagine being in an institutional setting where the meals aren't good, you're probably not going to stick with the program. That as a single example. And finally, we also work with a lot of groups to try and come up with innovative solutions for food rescue so that more and more and more food can come into the community and be distributed. So that's us in a nutshell. HOFOCO.org, Hollywood Food Coalition. HOFOCO.org is where you can learn about us. And every year, this year, January 18, I help to run something called Trek Talks, which is an 8-hour digital Jerry Lewis-esque telethon. I like to call it a convention where you don't have to wear pants. I don't. We have 8 hours of Star Trek guests. It could be actors, directors, designers, novelists, screenwriters, you name it, everything under the sun. This year, we're going to hopefully have a 1-hour-long discovery panel. We're going to have some of the people who write the Star Trek books. We have a wonderful science panel with Dr. Sion Proctor. We're going to have a lower decks panel. It's an opportunity for people to get to spend some time with some amazing Star Trek peeps and donate to a worthy cause. So that's my pitch for that. January 18, and you could check us out at trektalks.org. Is it trektalks.org or trektalks.net? I wish there was just one word instead of org and net, because I always forget which one. Trek Talks, you'll find it. Be it org or net, you will find it.
We'll find it and link it in the show notes for sure.
Okay, I trusted you.
You also seem to, you mentioned you do a little bit of work with the pancreatic cancer Action Network.
Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. Yes, that's Kitty Swink, Armin Shimmerman's wife.
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine. is a 20-year plus pancreatic cancer survivor. She started working with this wonderful organization that does extraordinary work helping to get the word out about how pancreatic cancer can be responded to. A lot of the deal with pancreatic cancer is if you catch it early enough, you might be able to survive. Early detection is a must. And they, in addition to sponsoring all sorts of wonderful research programs, are really helping to get people tuned in to the possibility that the symptoms they're having might be indicative of pancreatic cancer. So in large part, because of their work, the survival rate has gone from around 2 to 3%, which is where it was in the early 90s when my mother died of pancreatic cancer, to where it is now. We have a team of people who get together. Jonathan Frakes, his brother, died of pancreatic cancer. Manny Cotto's brother, Juan Carlos Cotto, Manny, who wrote for Enterprise. Manny recently passed away from pancreatic cancer. And all of us get together to fundraise. It's attached to an event called Purple Stride, which takes place in the spring. 50 or so cities all over the country. People turn out dressed in purple and march in celebration of the strides we have made to fight pancreatic cancer. So you can find our team, which is Track Against Pancreatic Cancer, I believe. The name may have changed based on Kitty's whim, but I think that's what it's called. Last year, we raised over $250,000. We are the biggest fundraising team in the organization's history. Huzzah, huzzah. Because of the generosity of Trek fans and people such as you who help us spread the word.
That's so awesome to hear. I love it.
Yeah, especially with some of the darkness that seems to be heading our way. I think it's I don't know. I'm glad we've been able to highlight a couple of these like bright spots of people doing really good in the world and good for each other and in kindness and just bringing up humans together.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what Trek's values are. Actually, I'll throw out one other thing, which is something that is sort of more notional than anything else, but a group of folks who are associated with Trek Talks have also started something called Trektivism. And you can find Trektivism also online. Again, is it org? Is it net? Can never remember. Trektivism will take you there. And it's a means by which people in Trek can have conversations based on the cool stuff they're doing, sharing their stories and their ideas. I think a lot of what we need is to kind of remember that even in the darkest times, we don't lose our individual agency. We always have the capacity to act, and it's not on us. It's not on any one of us to change the world. It's just on us to figure out what our activist bliss is, what it is that might motivate us to be more involved in our communities and to move that ball forward a little bit. And I think that's sort of where what I love about Star Trek is the idea that its values and its beliefs are rooted in optimism and the possibility that we can come together to make positive social change.
Well said. And you literally just answered the first question that I was going to pivot to, which is why do you love Star Trek? And I feel like you just answered it.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, the funny thing is, I've said, congratulations, you get a free hamburger because you are the bajillionth podcast I've done. I know that may not make you feel very special, but I do a lot of podcasts because I believe very much in Star Trek's values and I like to talk about them. I wasn't particularly a Star Trek fan when I got this gig. And I don't even know now that I necessarily always have an aesthetic attraction to the content of an individual episode. But what I do believe is the underpinnings of the stories and the reason why this franchise has lasted for so long is rooted in humanism, positivism, and a belief that science and empiricism triumphs over, how do I say it, backwards religiosity.
I would say capitalism and fascism, among other things. But yes.
Yes, absolutely. A whole bunch of isms that
sure.
Star Trek actually kind of cocks a snoot at.
Yeah. Well, we will go. We can go to a bit of a more quick fun note. So one of our other questions that we typically ask, like any guest that comes on the show, is, and you can answer this as you, John Billingsley, and not necessarily your character.
Thank God.
If you could go on a date with a character from Star Trek, a character, obviously not like, coworkers or actors, but a character from either Enterprise or any of the other shows, who do you think you'd choose and why? And it can be romantic or platonic. If it's just a coffee date,
Wow.
It doesn't have to be.
That's I've never been for a bajillion podcasts. I've never been asked that question before.
Ooh.
Who would I go on a date? It's easier to ask, knowing all the actors now, who I'd go on a date with than the character, huh? Yeah, the character. I just can't help thinking that I had the opportunity. I was in Palm Far with the Vulcan, and nothing happened. So, coffee date probably is actually a big step backward. Let's see. Who would I go on a date? Yeoman Rand.
Oh, interesting answer.
Yeoman
Nice
Rand.
classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always had a little crush on Yeoman Rand. She's a bit of a mystery woman. We don't really know that much about Yeoman Rand. I'd start from scratch. There wouldn't be any kind of and if I'm going on a date as me, it would probably be easier because I'd feel like I speak her language.
Yeah.
I know probably the basic mating rituals. Yeah.
Yeah, some of them, yeah.
Some of them.
That's a cool answer. I like that. I like fun fact, I don't know if I think I've told you this, Nicole, but
I know this, yes.
Grace Lee Whitney was the first Star Trek actor I met as like a child. I went to a Trek convention at like age 7 and we met her and got her autograph. So that was kind of an exciting thing. Yeah.
Well, of course, I grew up in an era when the question was either Ginger or Marianne or Bewitched or Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah.
And, that was sort of, yeah.
Those are the questions. Was it Bewitched or I Dream of Jeannie?
It was totally Bewitched. And it was
me too. Yeah.
Totally,
I mean, I wasn't in that era, but my mom always had those shows on. I loved Bewitched.
Totally Marianne. Now, women did not have the opposite question where it was like Gilligan or the Skipper. It was like, must I choose between Gilligan and the Skipper?
Yeah. Options? Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah.
Good answer though. So you mentioned you're not always attracted to necessarily the aesthetic of Star Trek or like a particular episode, but do you find yourself watching like any of the shows or any of the new shows? I mean, do you watch your own show or is there one that you're more drawn to than others, or are you just kind of a casual fan?
I haven't seen my own show in 20 years. I mean, I will say that I've watched occasional episodes because people have asked me to come on to podcasts or what have you and talk about specific episodes. Insofar as I'm asked sometimes to kind of highlight an episode and talk about it, the one I usually point to is the one where we clone Trip.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that was sort of, to me, where Star Trek works is when it does 3 things simultaneously. It's all about a multitude of characters and their interactions with each other. It has a scientific hook that is sort of like ethically challenging. And there's a deep emotion and urgency. Sometimes I find those elements aren't always quite, cohering in a particular episode of Star Trek. There's the urgency, but the storyline feels banal, or the scientific hook or the ethical hook seems somehow like, flaccid. I thought that episode was actually quite good. And when Star Trek works, I think that's why it works.
Yeah, that one stands out.
It's a really good one. Yeah.
In terms of the new shows, I've dabbled a little bit, but primarily because I, through Trek Talks, need to have enough familiarity with the various shows and the actors to be able to put a show together. It helps to be able to know which actor played which role. But I would have to spend the better part of the rest of my life catching up on Star Trek I've not seen to be as proficient as some of my pals. I'm not actually a huge TV watcher. Ironically, I ended up becoming an actor because I was really sort of a failed writer, and I still am drawn more towards reading than anything else. So I'm not as conversant in any television. It's not just Star Trek. Generally speaking, I'm just years behind in various.
I mean, yeah,
it's a commitment, really.
It is intimidating for sure.
There's a lot of TV. I mean, it's kind of a golden, the strike sort of set us back a little bit, but generally speaking, it's a golden age of television. And we do watch, my wife and I will kind of pick a show and watch it from beginning to end, but it takes us a while. We're not really bingers. It's more like an episode every week or an episode every 2 weeks.
Yeah, we got 2 young kiddos, and like full-time jobs, so we feel that we're always behind, so to speak.
Yeah, quote unquote behind. Yeah.
How old are your kids?
We have a 6-year-old now. She's 6, and almost 3-year-old in about a week.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah.
That's fabulous. And where do you guys live? Now I'm interviewing you. Where do you
It's
guys
all
live?
good. We're in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you had kind of a Midwestern sort of cozy, there's a bear outside your house vibe.
Not bear by coyotes.
Oh,
We
yeah.
did see a big deer the other day. That was cool.
Yeah, there was a big buck sitting in our
Yeah.
yard like a dog.
Yeah, in the
It's
middle of
weird.
St. Paul. It's wild. Yeah.
No, yeah, we got the coyotes too, wandering our streets. I live
Oh,
in
I
the
bet.
hills, and- yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay. Yeah, interview us as much as you want. That's fine.
All right, all right, all right.
I do have another question for you about Enterprise and Phlox stuff, though. So I was always interested. I mean, both of us love Enterprise. We had a blast watching that show, and your character was awesome, or easily a highlight.
No, thanks.
But you got to play a character of a brand new race,
Yes.
to canon and everything, and it's by playing that you kind of like set the tone for future iterations and depictions. And I always read about like how like Leonard Nimoy like came up with like the Vulcan salute and a lot of culture for like future Trek. Like, was there a lot that you kind of like came up with that's like, okay, this is just a Denobulan thing now because I came up with it?
The only thing I think I might have come up with that wasn't in the script was that when Denobulans meet, I sort of had a hard time kind of figuring out why have we never seen Denobulans before? And I thought before I got, episode 2, I only had episode 1 to go, and there wasn't really any specific information. Denobulans. I sort of thought, well, we must be a monastic species. Maybe there are like 8 of us left, and I got lonely, and that's the reason I left. And then it turns out, no, we're the fuck bunnies of the galaxy. Every Denobulan has multiple wives. We have a bajillion kids. The place is so crowded that you can't throw an elbow without bashing another Denobulan in the nose. And yet, it was suggested fairly early on in the first season that Denobulans don't like to be touched without, So I did spend some time thinking about, once I found out that we were actually, as lubricious as we were. It's like, well, how do I square those two things? So I did spend some time thinking about how elaborate the courting ritual has to be, and where you go from meeting a Denobulan to touching a Denobulan. And I thought a lot of it was pheromones and scent. And that a lot of Denobulans, when they meet each other, we smell each other like animals. So there was one scene when I got to see my wife, who joins us briefly.
Yeah.
And she spends the whole episode hitting on Trip, but that's neither here nor there. Story of my life. I did sort of say, can we have like a little? This is what I think they're the way Denobulan when they haven't seen each other in a while. This is how I think we can take a lot of good sniffing time together. That's very different than a gesture that can be repeated over and over again. But I would have hoped if Denobulans ever became, or I would hope, if Denobulans ever become featured prominently, that there would be some recognition that the sniffing is an integral part of the Denobulan wave of greeting a fellow Denobulan.
I think that obvious. I think that very much so stuck out. We watched that episode not too long ago, I remember too, and that was, I remember bringing up the sniffing as a big part of it.
I mean, you don't get. You don't really. I'm just the actor. I'm not the writer, so it's not as if there's a ton of opportunity to kind of introduce things. If you're maybe number 1 or 2 on the call sheet, you might have a little more latitude to knock on the producer's door. Of course, Bob Picardo used to hide in the flower bushes outside their office, and he would spring up and say, "What if the holographic doctor sang opera? What if the holographic doctor had an affair with what if the holographic?" Like, eventually, they took the rose bushes out just to keep Bob from. Now he's back. I didn't have Bob's chutzpah, or else they'd learn from Bob and they locked the office door. I'd slide suggestions under, and they'd come sliding back out again. So I didn't have the latitude to bend him in any particular direction based on backstory or my own imaginings about how the culture might have functioned. I think a lot of it is my particular temperament was well suited to what they were looking for, and it was a good marriage of aspects of my personality with what they hoped he could be. That's what you hope for when you're casting. Sometimes it works, and oddly enough, the other part of my career, the jolly alien part of my career is evil child molesters. So go figure.
Oh boy.
Psychopaths, criminal nut jobs, every damn crime show under the sun. People see me and I can usually tell whether they recognize me from Star Trek or something else by the look of their eye.
I do love, I will also say I love about Phlox and the Denobulans is the big smile, the tongue, and the blow up face. Like, how'd you do that with your face? Just kidding.
I wish 10,000 clams to blow up, 10,000 clams to smile.
Yeah.
And it's why you only saw it twice, the first episode and the last episode, because our ratings plummeted right out of the gate. Our budgets were cut, and they weren't going to drop $10,000 on a special effect for the back.
Yeah, kind of just it was a funny one. Yeah.
I mean, they gave me the tongue. They gave me
cool.
They gave me the ridged back, and we
yeah.
could climb walls with these. Had I known at the outset that I had so many special skills and gifts, I might have played him with more swagger. I didn't. I just thought he was a flabby old guy like me. I did suggest this is. They didn't take many of my suggestions. I did suggest there was an episode where I'm walking around the ship naked. I realize this is a dirty conversation we're having, and I apologize for that.
It'll get worse.
All right. Yes, I walked in naked into sick bay, and I suggested that I should turn sharply to the left and all the way across the room. A flower pot should hit the ground, and they said no. They said no. I said, "Well, I've got a tongue that drapes the floor. For God's sake! I mean, come on."
Honestly, for Enterprise, that's really surprising considering some of the scenes that we did get in that show.
Yes, they were. They were perfectly willing to push the envelope in certain directions, but in my direction.
Well, so one of the interesting things about the Denobulans are practice polyamory as far as sexuality goes, and there's a mention in the episode with Phlox's wife that she has several husbands, and then Phlox himself has several wives. So it's sort of interesting that there's not an overlap there of everybody kind of being married to everybody. I
tried through a raised eyebrow to suggest that the husbands and the wives got to, the boundaries were fluid. The script did not suggest it, but I thought that's the first thought I had too. It's well, I've got several wives and they've got several husbands. It's basically though, when you do the math, it means everybody on Denobula can sleep with everybody. As long as you give them a good sniff first.
I wonder if it was made today, if Phlox the character was made today too, or Denobulan culture but introduced today, if that would have been more on the table these days. I would hope so. Maybe.
I mean, it's certainly been interesting to be warmly received by the polyamorous community. And I in fact, I don't know if I have my fan around or not. I have a fan that says John Billingsley gay icon because of my raised eyebrow with Doctor Phlox. I actually insisted that I be called John Billingsley gay icon because I was on a panel with the doctor from Wilson.
Wilson Cruz, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cruz. And of course, I mean, he is a gay icon, and he's also built like a brick shit house. But I was kind of making fun of him. I was like, technically speaking, I was a gay icon before you were a gay icon. I was first polyamorous. So a number of people in the community refer to me as John Billingsley gay icon. Those who don't are hearing this going, who the fuck are you? I don't think you're a gay icon. Fuck you, gay icon.
That is good. That is good. So with that in your mind, when Denobulans copulate, for lack of a better term, do they pair off? Is it a group sex situation? Is it just based on how they're feeling at the moment? I don't know if we get the answer to that, but what's in your mind?
That also is another question that's never been asked before. My answer to that changes with the years because I've entertained all sorts of different possibilities based on revelations about my anatomy and how it works. My thoughts have shifted and changed down the years. One thing I like to think, only because I think it's sort of every man's dream. So why not? As a Denobulan, is it sex takes hours? You Denobulans have to set aside the entire weekend for a single sex act.
That sounds accurate.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, and there's a very like specific and intricate and evolved and elaborate, like the rose petal bath. I mean, it's like it's not. I don't think Denobulans really know what quickies are. I think Denobulans. I like to think that Denobulans are sort of like the French on steroids. Without the snootiness. No offense if you're French listening to this. I love French, believe me. But if you ask me, have I actually delineated in my mind what the 24, 48, 72 hours would entail? No. There would be food breaks. I can tell you that. There would be. Denobulans love to eat.
Mm-hmm.
That was the other thing that I would say I introduced, is I did suggest that anytime there was any stray food that he should try and like grab it. And that he should like reach across and take people's food, and that he was like, he just liked food. Perhaps that was rooted in my own love of food and my propensity to eat my wife's French fries, but that's something else I think about Denobulans. I did pitch another episode. They rejected this too. That we pick up a Denobulan craft in distress, and we bring a bunch of Denobulans on board, and they're all like Oscar Madison. They're kind of like, they're fucking in the hallways. There's dirty towels, dirty laundry, and food dishes. And it's like, get these Denobulans off the ship. No, they passed on that.
That would be kind of fun, though.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Oh man, I mean, yeah. I'm surprised though. Sometimes with like the older shows having 20 some episodes, and you really got to just take ideas,
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a blackboard, or they did. I don't know whether the current iterations of the show too, but the one I was on, Manny had been on Voyager and Deep Space, I think, and definitely the Next Generation. Every possible idea had been pitched to him. So when you walked into his office, he had a blackboard and it said the cheesy crusties. The ones that like they have heard a gajillion times. And, I felt badly because some friends of mine, I got them in to pitch, aspiring TV writers. And they came out, and I saw them the next day, and they kind of were white-faced. He said, yeah, every time we opened our mouth, he'd point and say, cheesy crusty, cheesy crusty, cheesy crusty. We had like 10 ideas, and we didn't get a single sentence out. They were all cheesy crusties. It's like, yeah, well, sorry. I kind of had a... Yeah.
Well, that's funny to me because I feel like there are, I don't want it recycled, maybe has a certain connotation, but like there are like recurring episode types.
Sometimes even they, I think, realize that they had no choice but to, if you can't come up with something, then you got to shoot something. Cheesy crusty.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the nadir of our show, and I think one of the ones that was like, oh, Jesus, was when Padma Lakshmi played the snooty alien princess type, and Connor had to escort her through a mud bog or something. It was like, oh, haven't we seen this a gajillion times?
We have.
Yeah.
And that one was like, our ratings like took the deepest dive between, you kind of like, if you're paying any attention, you kind of track from episode to episode. We had not been doing well. That one was like, we were all surprised we got season 3, much less season 4.
Well,
no ill will to Padma Lakshmi. She's a marvelous chef and seems like a terrific person. Not perhaps a great actress.
We all have strengths.
We all have strengths.
Yep.
Exactly. No one's going to give me a cooking show. Damn it.
Well, and one of the interesting things on Star Trek 2 is sort of like even though like all of the, species are all, fictional, but like the idea of like cross-cultural like interactions. And there was sort of a romance set up for Phlox at one point with that crewman Cutler played by the late Kelly Waymeyer.
Yes.
And specifically set up in one of the episodes titled Dear Doctor, but there wasn't too much more made of that relationship. But there were talks about
further, I suspect. I mean, she was a wonderful actress. They used her in 3 or 4 episodes, and I would have been surprised if they hadn't asked her to become a series regular. I think we
Hmm.
would have
Yeah.
stood to have more feminine energy on the show. She had
Yeah.
great sense of humor. Unfortunately, she had an undiagnosed heart problem, and
Oh.
I knew her fairly well, and I knew her fiance
Hmm.
Mm.
fairly well. And he came home one day and found her on the sofa. She was 20. I think she was 27. Maybe she was.
Ah, jeez.
But it was heartbreaking for all
Yeah.
of us. And yeah, I don't know whether they would have, kept romance going with us or not. I would have been delighted because I loved working with her. She was, having said that, also beginning to really kind of have a career emergence. She played a prostitute on 6 Feet Under, and she was fabulous. I don't know if you were a fan of that show, but she had a great little mini run on that show. So I think she was getting some attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was fabulous.
Yeah, it could have been interesting to explore Denobulan relationships, but with a human.
Yeah. That's the moment in which she touched me, and I recoiled. And I was like, I remember getting the script, and it's like, he doesn't like to be touched. What? Well, I wish I'd known that. That certainly was a wrinkle. That is the funny thing about playing somebody from a different culture. If you're cast as a Vulcan or a Klingon or what have you, I mean, 95, 98% of the behaviors have been
Mhm.
established for you. You can fulfill them or fail to fulfill them, but you know what you're aiming for. From week to week and episode to episode, when they throw you this stuff, you do have to each time kind of like figure out how to put that in. And sometimes it's a weird kind of like the opposite of Jenga, where you're having to put the sticks in without bringing the fucking edifice down. It was a strange experience. I remember another one where there was an episode in which a mortal enemy of my species, or a representative of a species that we were
Mhm.
mortal enemies with, was on the ship, and somebody in passing referred to my background as a medic in the Denobulan infantry, and I thought, Denobulan infantry? You don't have an infantry. I mean, come on, that's like, geez, that felt clank to me. It's like I couldn't quite. We're lovers, not fighters. Give me a break.
That's a good point.
So the other episode we were talking about earlier with the big romance was the one where Phlox's wife Feasel comes aboard the Enterprise,
yes,
and has the hots for Trip.
That's
We
awesome.
actually, so on our show we talk about like Trek love stories a lot, and we actually talked about that one early. It was one of our early episodes that we did because we like that one so much. But there was this like, one thing was cool is it establishes the like kind of lack of like jealousy, right, amongst the Denobulans. They're
Kind of
just
saying,
like you were
lovers,
saying,
not
like
fighters.
exactly. And specifically like different culturally from like how it would be for like humans.
Yeah.
But this might be a little like in the weeds of like Star Trek, like debating story points. But when we did that episode, Nicole and I came to like very separate conclusions on the ending.
Oh,
And where there was a scene where like it seemed like Trip was was not interested, or like what felt too uncomfortable. But there's a scene where he goes like, "Welp," and then just kind of leaves the room. And I interpreted it as like they actually ended up having sex at the end.
yeah.
She was like, "No way, they did not." What do you think?
She's your wife is right.
Ah, okay.
Nicole is absolutely 100% right.
I'm bowing now.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
Yeah, no. Trip was a moralist.
Yeah. Okay.
No, his whelp was like, you think what you think, but no way in God's green earth am I being a.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's officially settled now.
That's the wish you could be the father of deed, I think, in your case, which I totally understand. Yeah. That's why my reaction was like, "Are you nuts?"
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That actress actually also was a friend of ours and had played my wife, Benita Friederich's daughter. So when Bonnie found out that the woman who was going to play my wife had played her daughter, she was like, Hollywood.
Right.
Yeah, how come you don't have an old character actress playing your wife? It's like, I got multiple wives. This is my youngest wife. If you hadn't played a Borg, you could have played my older wife.
Oh my gosh.
She was
she played a Borg, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but Benita Friedrich. So she's on Chuck.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw Chuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was a general. So she was Borgified in a season 2 episode that a lot of fans thought was kind of a jumping the shark episode, which I tend to agree with. It's like, I don't know if we want the Borg.
I get that. I definitely get that, like watching it now. However, I remember when the show was airing, I was I think 11, 12 years old, and I was watching it like live. And I remember when we got the preview that the Borg were going to be into it, as like a 12-year-old, I like recorded it on like my VHS, like VHS, because like, oh, it's the Enterprise doing the Borg now. And I was so pumped at the time.
Okay.
So
All right, well, good.
to my demographic, I guess it was
Wow, you were the ones who were aiming for it, I imagine.
yeah, 12-year-olds.
Yeah, so she was Borgified, and I did show up on the set on the day she was getting killed because you gotta. Very few people can get to watch their wife get squibbed and flown through the air on guy wires. It's like, do that again.
It's very special.
Yeah, it's not an experience.
So you guys were married before you both worked together?
Yeah. We've been we're second marriage for both of us. We've been together now for 27 years.
Wow, congrats!
Cheers.
Thank you. Yeah, we've had a chance to do a number of things together, some stuff on stage, and a bunch of things. There was a short-lived show called The Nine on ABC, and she played my wife, my bitchy wife, on that. I left her. We were in a terrible kids movie called 12 Dogs of Christmas. On a number of other dopey TV shows. I think most recently Station 19, which was about the romances of people at a firehouse.
Oh.
We played a couple who have an ice rink, and I am the husband, and I am thrown from the Zamboni. The Zamboni is going wild, and I'm stuck on the ice with a broken leg. Am I going to be mowed down with the crazy Zamboni? It's like,
sense of urgency.
That doesn't seem too likely.
Yeah,
how fast does a Zamboni go? I can't get out of the way of a Zamboni. We've done some dopey stuff together.
But I bet it's fun, hopefully.
It is. It's great fun. It's great fun.
On Enterprise, with Phlox being a Denobulan and then T'Pol being the Vulcan, on a ship of mostly humans, it seemed like Phlox, sort of was this bridge for T'Pol in a way between with the human character, between T'Pol and the human characters, and trying to sort of just bridge some of those differences and like some of that kind of like sometimes the tension between them. And Phlox always seemed to maintain like this sense of wonder and curiosity and joy, as far as the exploration goes and meeting new species and interacting with them. And did you find that to be true, as part of the show, or did that play into your performance at all? Or
no, that seemed to me. I mean, I definitely think that's one of the great things that I loved about playing that character. I'm frequently facetious, and I was being somewhat facetious before, but I have played a lot of scuzzy guys in my career. To actually play somebody who had a deep sense of optimism, and a sense of what I would call Buddhist release. I always thought he was on a suicide mission. To me, this is a guy who said, "I had a wonderful life. I had marvelous kids. I loved my partners. I've achieved a lot. I have an opportunity to fly off into space," which came very unexpectedly, with this ragtag bunch of, from his point of view, know-nothings, and enjoy their spirit as they, doubtless, fuck up and get annihilated. But, life is short. Let's take a whack. And I think his journey was realizing that they had more, in addition to their pluck, they also had their skills. And I think he kind of fell in love with them. I don't know that was, when he first shows up, so much his thought. I think, it was a great discovery for him to find, that he actually had genuine affection and belief in these people. And I definitely think that he saw his role as being, to a certain extent, a constant reminder that it was a privilege to get to be explorers. And consequently, it should be approached with as much enthusiasm as possible, even when it was likely as not to end badly.
I came close for a lot of times, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, Dr. Phlox had seen all the previous shows, so he was pretty sure that there'd be like a lot of scrapes.
I have a question for you that one of our listeners and friends who's been on our podcast before, he's been one of our longtime listeners. His name is Ryan Mintz. And I told him, I was like, we got John Billingsley, and he's a big Enterprise fan, super big fan of Phlox himself too. So I was like, what questions do you have? And so he wanted to ask, would you want to see Phlox somehow incorporated into the new Star Trek? And what do you think would be the best way to use him in moving forward?
Oh yeah, no, that'd be great. I mean, having said that, the subject came up once on the picket line with some of the writers for Strange New Worlds, and they asked me how old Phlox would be, and I said, I'm not enough of an authority on the timelines to know whether or not it would be feasible for my character to still be alive, but Phlox could certainly have a son.
Yeah.
Image Phlox Jr.
Junior, I love that.
In terms of how he's used or how he could be used, I mean, I would imagine this is probably what's happening with Bob Picardo. I have no idea. I don't know anything about the new Academy show. But I think if you're bringing an actor back and they are older, obviously what you're getting is some sense of the breadth of their backstory and the breadth of their journey, and theoretically the breadth of their wisdom. So one would think that if you're going to bring me back, it would be as somebody who's sage. On the other hand, maybe he's debauched. Maybe Dr. Phlox just gave himself over to licentiousness, and now he's like, this old fucking sot they've picked up at the side of the road, and it's all about Dr. Phlox getting back on his feet again, like in Rio Bravo. I, unlike Bob, do not sleep in the flower bed waiting to suggest ideas to the authors.
I think the son idea is not too. I mean, how many characters how many like different Soongs did Brent Spiner play?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Could be son, could be grandson.
Yeah.
I mean,
The possibilities are endless. You got timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah. Spiner was even on Enterprise as one of them too, like a great-great-grandfather.
That's right. The other, when I told you earlier about the Denobulan ship in distress, we bring a bunch of Denobulans on the board. I neglected to mention they all look like me. That was my other attempt to suggest that any future Denobulan has to be me.
Your likeness, yeah,
my likeness, and
you're the template.
And the template, they definitely vetoed that. That was.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for answering all these like Trek related questions and just like getting real nerdy and kind of sexy with us, I guess you could say.
Right. It's quite all right. I was expecting you to ask me DS9 questions, and I was terrified because I've never watched it.
No, it's more of the title than the topic of this. I just like the title. Right. I did want to ask you one last question, not about Star Trek though, because I also know you from the 2003 movie Out of Time.
Oh yeah,
and you got to play Denzel Washington's like best buddy, which is, I think, something everybody would love to be in real life. Like, how was working with Denzel? I'd love to hear that.
Well, as an actor, he's fabulous. I mean, he's so present and improvisational, great sense of humor, very playful, delightful when the camera's on. When the camera's off, he's very private. I mean, you make allowances for it when you're working with people who are, in the pantheon.
Yeah.
The people who are, like the Paul Newmans and the Gary Coopers and the Denzel Washingtons. You have to make allowances for the fact that the nature of their life and their world is that they have to be extremely guarded with time, guarded with their, space. So he lived in a world apart on that set. He has his own, retinue. He has his own peeps. So I did not feel the sense of camaraderie. Sometimes you kind of expect that you're going to want to establish with the guy who's playing your best friend.
Yeah.
It was a bit of not an acting challenge necessarily, but I had to kind of go, okay, there's not going to be any off-screen bonding. Hey, John, do you want to go to a movie tonight and kind of establish, it's because we're friends. We should. It's like that wasn't going to happen. It was like, okay, you just have to, invest in the first scene I actually shot with him. I'm coming out of the bathroom, my hands are wet, and I'm going to wipe my hands on his shirt. And Carl Franklin, the director, who I loved, and I'm sure there's a reason he was doing this. He said, really get him wet, really get all over you. Like, you just do not like, and it's like, I'm doing it. He said, no, you're being too delicate. He's not Denzel Washington. It's like, I don't.
That would be hard.
Yeah. It's like, I'm dripping wet. I'm covering and I think he was just doing that to kind of like break the ice a little bit.
Yeah.
Denzel had to sit there and take it, and he wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to be shy. But in the moment, I thought, like, man, Jesus. I have a lot of affection for that movie. It's not a movie for the ages, but it's brisk and fun, and it certainly was a great experience for me. I loved Eva Mendes. We got to be.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I mean, that era of like action thrillers is sometimes like you don't really see that as much anymore. So there's something special about those.
You've been going back.
It's funny, career is so bizarre because after that, people liked me in it, and I was getting some opportunities, but I was on Star Trek.
Oh yeah,
I couldn't do anything. That movie, they let me actually go back and forth between Star Trek and the movie.
Oh.
And it was a great gift they gave me. I've always been very appreciative to Brandon and Rick for letting me do that. But they let me pretty much double dip a lot in the first 2 years. I was doing a lot of television, but there's a limit. And some of the opportunities that came my way, I just couldn't, I couldn't avail myself of. And people have short memories. By the end of Star Trek, whatever little door out of time and opened into the movie world had shut, and I've never been able to open it again. I'll tell you another story about that if you've got the time.
Of course, yeah.
Which is so I'd done a brief scene in a movie of Carl Franklin's with Ashley Judd, the name of which escapes me, and I liked him. He had me come in and read a number of parts for the table read of Out of Time, not the part I eventually played, which was Che. They were looking for an Asian gentleman, and they looked and they looked and they looked, and I guess they didn't find an Asian gentleman who had a kind of a dark sense of humor, or enough, or could project that. And then they started looking outside of Asian actors, and they looked and they looked. And what I found out later on was that Denzel Washington was vetoing everybody.
Oh.
And the reason he was vetoing everybody is because Carl Franklin had directed Denzel in Devil in a Blue Dress.
Oh, yeah.
And Denzel, to a certain extent, never entirely forgave Carl for having made great hay over the gentleman who played Mouse. Whose name is now escaping me, very famous actor that kind of, became a star because of his role as the sidekick in Devil in a Blue Dress.
Oh.
You know the name immediately. I mean, he's gone on to become a wonderful, wonderful actor. But in any case, Don Cheadle.
Oh, Don Cheadle, yeah.
And so Denzel was like, every name actor, every actor of any reputation was like, nope, not him. And the only reason I got that part was because it was like, who the fuck is that guy? Yeah, he's fine. So I owe that part to my absolute anonymity and Denzel Washington's certitude that he didn't have to feel in the least bit threatened by me.
Wow. That is a story.
Yeah.
I like that.
Again, not that I think probably he's watching, but on the off chance, Denzel, if you're watching, you're great to work with. Not taking anything away. Don't not call me for a job because I just dished you a little tiny bit.
We're all pro Denzel here, in case he's listening.
Pro Denzel.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it makes sense. At some point, some folks put up
a barrier or a wall, like
I can't imagine
a guardrail.
If you were like Paul Newman and you walked outside and people were flashing cameras in your face, and everywhere you went, people kind of wanted to party, and I've always been very happy being kind of like, the vaguely recognizable character actor that some people go, what did I see you in? And
Mhm.
most people wouldn't know you from Adam. So, it's a nice place to be.
Yeah, I bet. Before we wrap up or close out, is there any, I know you plugged like the charities in the beginning, but is there any like film or television projects or anything else or even writing projects that you wanted to shout out or plug for anyone to look out for?
Uh, I dabble at writing. I'm not really much of a writer. I'm working on. I've been kind of like dabbling on a script about two old character actors get inadvertently hired as intimacy coaches.
That actually sounds hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll see if that ever sees the light of day. And I'm in briefly Grotesquerie right now.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Murphy show. I had a little bit on Matlock. I'm currently playing Santa Claus, a guy who dressed up as Santa Claus on the Paramount miniseries based on the John Benet Ramsey story.
Oh,
Which
wow.
it's with Melissa McCarthy and Clive Owen, which I think is a very interesting match as
Wild.
Very.
as the Benets. Shea Wiggum is in it, and a bunch of terrific people. So that's been fun shooting up in Calgary, and I think that's all I got going on. Getting ready for Trek Talks, getting ready for Pan Can, and life.
Yeah, whatever comes your way.
Yeah. Licking my wounds. This was a very painful week.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be it'll be hard, but I have a faith in the capacity of human beings to persevere through grief. And a lot of people are grieving right now and in deep pain.
Mm-hmm.
But onward.
Indeed. Well said. Well, thank you for your time
Of course.
today and for the breadth of topics that we were able to
Absolutely.
go over. It was a joy.
Lovely to meet you both.
Likewise.
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course.
Thank you. Is Tim Walls gonna see? What's up with Tim? What happens to Tim now?
Back in the governor's seat here.
Yeah.
Another 2 years, I think, for sure. Unless I'm not sure if he'll run again, but
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
If you see Tim, send him my love because I thought he was great.
we will for sure.
Yeah.
Next time we chat.
Yeah, we like him. Thank you for listening to our episode today. Reminder, you can find us at DS Love Pod on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Give us a follow if you like what you hear. And if you really like what you hear, rate and review wherever you're listening. Another huge thank you to John for taking the time to chat with us. Remember to put Trek Talks on your calendar for January 18th. That's just a few weeks away. Until next time, everybody, love long and prosper.